That is beautiful. I have the new Fenty Beauty, their Soft'lit long wearing foundation. It is all over social media. It is rated really high. People are calling it like the golden hour skin. Your skin is luminous, but it's not oily, it's not greasy. It is just phenomenal. So let's try it together. We're gonna review it, do the full day wear test. Let's get into it, to the application. This is a $40 US foundation, 50 shades to choose from, waterproof medium coverage formula. Like I said, they call it their golden hour foundation in a bottle. It's supposed to give you the glow without the greasy, oily skin. I'm curious how this is going to look and wear on my combination skin type. I had a hard time choosing my shade in store, even though there is 50 shades, and the shade that I wanted, it was out of stock and I didn't feel like buying 2 shades. So hopefully this is going to be good. I did test right here and it looked pretty good in store. The other shade was a little too warm, so we went with 125. Now I'm focusing this on areas where I needed the coverage. I'm going to use Smashbox, the blurring foundation brush. It's currently one of my go-tos. I think the color is pretty good actually. I have my skin prepped the usual way. I didn't see any recommendations of, a specific primer or a primer in general. They just say to make sure you moisturize your face before applying this foundation. Very easy blending. I'm not seeing any kind of spots where it's looking patchy. I think this is definitely a light medium coverage with the amount that I applied. I think I could go a little heavier with coverage, but I don't think I need it as of right now. That is beautiful. The finish, it is giving me almost a soft matte, like a velvety finish. If I'm thinking of what foundation this reminds me of, very close to the Laura Mercier, the Flawless, her new foundation. So it's like blurring, but a little bit of that glow. So I do like that it's glowy on my skin. It looks like my skin, but I don't look and I don't feel oily. It's giving me a little bit of like a moisturizer feel on top of my skincare, but it's not tacky and it doesn't feel like a hydrating foundation where it's going to slip and slide on my skin. So I'm hoping it's going to set just a little bit more, just a tad. It is a waterproof formula. I find with waterproof formulas, they have almost a self-setting feature and they don't go anywhere. A little bit more in the back of my hand. That's a full pump. Like this texture is really nice. And I feel like it does oxidize a tad, like you can see right away on the skin. It's turning a little bit deeper, but it's nothing where it's going to concern me. That color is pretty spot on actually. It looks very light in the back of my hand, but when it's blended and it warms up to my skin, it's pretty good. Now that the foundation is on my entire face, it looks beautiful and it looks like my skin, but it looks blurred. It looks glowy at the same time from far away. If you get very, very close and you start looking like at the texture of my skin, I have a scar right here on my nose and it's somehow accentuating that scar. And sometimes foundations, they kind of tend to exaggerate it, and this one is doing that. And then in some other areas, extra peach fuzz that I have or texture of my skin, I can see the foundation kind of sitting on top. And I can see why they really recommend to use a moisturizer underneath this foundation, even though it's supposed to be hydrating. If you have very dry spots, I feel like it can exaggerate some of those areas. But as of right now, overall, I like the finish and I like the way it's looking on my skin, except for some of those little areas that I'm going to nitpick. Let's apply the rest of my makeup. Patrick Ta Sculpting. It's the cream contour and powder bronzer palette. And I'm using the Patrick Ta for contour face brush. For blush, I got this in the PR from Flawless. This is their Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush in shade Angel. Fenty Beauty, the Hydrating Longwear Concealer. I'm taking 125C. For lip liner, Maybelline, their Lifter Liner in shade number 7, Big Lift. I can't get enough of these lip liners. They're so good from the drugstore. They're long lasting. Formula is very creamy, very pigmented. I'm gonna top it off with the Fenty Beauty, the Diamond Milk Gloss Bombs. I'm not going to powder my skin because I like the way my skin is looking. It's looking healthy, it's looking glowy, but it's not looking greasy. I'm finding that my pores, they're not enlarged. They look blurred. I like the way my forehead is looking. It's looking glowy, but again, not greasy. But I'll keep you guys updated with the rest of the review, which is the wear test. And I'll let you know if my skin needs either blotting or a little bit of powder to tone down the shine. Like I said, this formula, it claims to be non-greasy all day long. So I'm really curious how it's going to be in my combination skin. I have high hopes and I'm hoping this foundation looks better as the day goes on. Like it helps, just kind of starts sinking a little bit more into the skin. It becomes one with my skin because there are still some spots like my nose, I still see my scar on my nose, which is usually not the case. A little bit of foundation starting to settle around or in the crevices of my nose. All right, let's go on to the rest of the review for the new Fenty Beauty, their Soft'lit foundation. We are 4 hours in, and this is what my face looks like with the new Fenty Beauty, the Soft'lit foundation. I think overall we're looking good, definitely very glowy, and I'm feeling a little bit glowy, like right here around the nose and the forehead. So I am going to touch up just a tad. I'm just gonna use my Laura Mercier, the Ultra Blur Powder. This literally just blurs and just controls the shine. When it's 90+ degrees outside Fahrenheit, my skin is going to look pretty dewy. No matter if I'm wearing a matte primer, if I'm wearing a matte foundation, I need to touch up with the day. Like as the day goes on, I need to like touch up my skin. I'm just going to very lightly, I'm gonna go over the forehead. You can see right away the difference. Make sure to go into the hairline, down my nose, and you can really see the line on my nose even right now. And I'm also finding the foundation, it's not getting worse in the crevices around my nose, but it's pretty noticeable. So I've been kind of like trying to stamp it into my skin. But overall, I'll show on the side before I powder. Like you can see, it looks pretty good. Like the foundation is moving with my skin. It's not cracking as much. It's not separating as much. I like the way it's moving with my skin. It looks like my skin. It looks like I have makeup on, but it's pretty lightweight. And it doesn't look as, it's not sitting on top of my skin anymore. It's becoming a little more one with my skin. But I'm just gonna powder my T-zone area. And I'm pretty impressed. I thought I was gonna be a little more glowy. I just still don't like that it's really accentuating my scar on my nose because I'm really seeing it. But I think overall we're looking good. We are 10 hours in and I think we're looking pretty good. Like I was saying, I thought this foundation was gonna get better throughout the day and I think it's getting better. I'm looking at my face and I'm honestly not that glowy, especially my forehead, which I'm shocked. Because even with this powder right here, I'll have to touch up at least like two times in total to kind of tone down the shine. But look at that forehead. It is looking good. I still don't like my nose. It's right there. It's right in my, it's like right the first thing that I see. The foundation is, yeah, it's like looking dry around my nose now. It's not looking pretty. I see the foundation starting to move around a little bit, especially around the chin. I feel like a lot of that coverage is gone. It feels good around my jaw, my cheeks, my forehead, but the chin, it is not, it's kind of just really breaking apart a lot in my chin, which I'm actually surprised because I feel like the foundation breaks apart first on my forehead, but pretty good on the forehead. So yeah. I think we're looking okay. The color has not oxidized further. I was also looking around the 4-hour mark and I think the color looks okay. Yeah, I think if anything, my nitpick is transfer and movement around the mouth, the nose area after, you know, eating and wiping, but I'm shocked that it still looks phenomenal on the forehead. I am pretty blown away that it looks so good on the forehead. We are over 12 hours and this is where we're gonna end. First impression, the review for the Rihanna, the Fenty Beauty, the Soft'lit long wearing foundation. And this is how it's looking on my combination skin. I think we're still looking pretty great. Again, this is what, like 2 hours later after the last initial update and not much has happened. I'm looking and obviously like I'll keep repeating myself. You can see the foundation, but it looks pretty good on the skin the way it's wearing down. I will say one thing. If you have dry spots, if you have very dry skin, or if you have skin that almost looks like it's peeling, you know, some areas, it will stick to those areas. It will accentuate just like any typical foundation will. But I found that with this one, I don't know what is still going on. I'm still trying to understand why it's really exaggerating my line on my nose, my scar. I don't understand. Is it the shade that's too light? Like, I don't understand. Like, I mean, the shade looks good still, in my opinion, but that's just like one thing I will mention. So make sure you prep your skin really well beforehand, even though this is supposed to be more of a hydrating foundation. Because it is a long wearing formula, it's not 100% a self-setting formula in my opinion, but it will settle down a little bit and it will set to make sure it's not gonna go anywhere. But if you have very oily skin or certain parts of your face are very oily like myself, combination type, definitely set it and definitely prep it to make sure and ensure that the foundation doesn't start slipping and sliding. For example, like my chin. My forehead, it's looking a little tiny bit glowier than the last check-in, but it's still looking really good because I did focus a little bit more with the setting, with my setting powder, my touch-up powder in that area, and I didn't really focus too much right here. Same thing around my nose, but I didn't want to go too heavy-handed because I already didn't like the way the foundation was settling into the crevices around my nose, and that was before I even used the powder. So yeah, just a couple of things. It's not an A+ type of a foundation where it's perfection, but those are very hard to come by, very hard to come by. But I think this is a great option if you have a normal skin type, if you have a normal to dry skin type, a normal to oily skin type. But if you have a very dry skin type or a very oily skin type, you might not enjoy this foundation just because of certain things that I mentioned. Otherwise, just prep your skin beforehand, depending what type of skin type you have and what you need for your skin. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for watching, spending time with me, and I'll see you next one very soon.